Welcome to Field of View with Nerd Street Gamers, your weekly dose of gaming news. I'm Darf Mike coming to you live from another tour of Azeroth, and we've got a bunch of news to get to this week, so let's log in and get to it. World of Warcraft Shadowlands released this week, the newest expansion and the 8th ever expansion to the celebrated MMORPG, has seen bursting player numbers. And what's that noise you hear? Why, hark, it's the sound of thousands of accounts being reactivated as players get ready for the new expansion. Seriously, we've had record numbers, and a lot of it has to be tracked back to the introduction of WoW Classic that brought so many players back into the fold of Blizzard's franchise piece. You also do have to imagine that a lot of it has to do with the year we're in, because there's never been a better time to while away the hours dealing with the problems of Azeroth as opposed to spending countless time agonizingly staring at the news and encountering the problems of our real world. IO Interactive have unveiled their next project, dubbed Project 007. It's a new James Bond game in the works. And this is exciting news because it's been a long time since we had any James Bond game, and an even longer time before that since we've had any decent James Bond game that was actually worth playing. I don't think there's a better developer that you could find than IO to take on the mantle of cinema's most celebrated spy. Seriously, this is the developer of the Hitman games, and if you just took the last couple of Hitman games and you swapped out Agent 47 with his suit and red tie and murderous intent, and you swapped in James Bond with his tuxedo and slightly more charming murderous intent, I think you'd already have a pretty solid Bond game. So with a purpose-built product, I cannot wait to see what they come up with. The release date is almost upon us for Cyberpunk 2077, the hotly anticipated game from CD Projekt Red. But if you can't wait, there might be a little something out there to whet your appetite. 20 minutes of gameplay were leaked onto the internet, as apparently someone got their hands on an advanced copy of the PlayStation 4 version of the game and streamed out the first 20 minutes of gameplay from the Nomad storyline. Now, honestly, the video in and of itself is not that exciting. It seems to run relatively smoothly and it looks good, which is exciting, but it's all introductory gameplay. They mostly skip over the character creation, they get right into the game, and it's sort of slow-paced tempo setting for 20 minutes. So it's not really worth a watch. But it is of note because, to be quite frank, stealing a cutting-edge video game and streaming the first 20 minutes out to the masses sounds like it could be the mission in a cyberpunk-based game. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity released this week for the Nintendo Switch. It's a Dynasty Warriors type game set in the universe of the Zelda games 100 years before the events of Breath of the Wild. Now, a Dynasty Warriors type game means that it's 1 against 1,000 combat, where you chew your way through hordes of enemies hacking and slashing your way against the invasion of Ganon's forces. Now, we already know how it ends. You lose, thus leading to the events of Breath of the Wild, but it'll be exciting to see how we get there. You can play as a host of different playable characters who were previously only seen in flashbacks in the original game, and you should get some nice lore and backstory to go with your hack and slash combat. If that sounds appealing to you, you can pick it up now for the Nintendo Switch. In news of note from a video game history perspective, a sealed copy of Super Mario Bros. 3 sold at auction this past week for a whopping $156,000, making it the single most expensive video game ever sold to date. That's a pretty wild price, $156,000 for a game, but it's just another indicator of how important video games have become in our cultural consciousness. It's like a first edition Superman or Spider-Man comic being sold at auction. They're that important in people's nostalgia and people's emotional memories. I do have to say, whoever bought this might feel very silly next week if Nintendo suddenly announces a remaster of the game for new consoles. That's it for us this week on Field of View with Nerd Street Gamers, your weekly dose of gaming news. Now, I booked myself on a flying mount tour of the Shadowlands, and I don't want to miss it, so I'll see you all on the other side.